right, Chad. Hope you enjoyed it because you might not hear from all of us. So, welcome to another episode of Top Corner Talk with Charlie, Oscar, Jeremy, the professional rat, apparently. But that's a long discussion we'll probably hold at the end. And one thing I also wanted to make sure that we kind of bring up, knowing that, we've all understand that the past few days we've had tornado warnings, and St. Louis, mostly of St. Louis City, has been hit by a tornado and heavy rain, hail, and damages. So just wanted to give a huge shout out to St. Louis in general. Hopefully you guys are all safe. Life, the most important part. That um, buildings, cars, and everything can be replaced, but when we hear that a few people have lost their life as well, is something unfortunate. So just wanted to give a shout out to the city of St. Louis. When we say it's our city, our pride, we definitely mean it. And Charlie, we want to make sure you're probably the closest to the whole madness. So you're in the basement, safe and ready to talk soccer.
Yeah. A little bit different setup. I might go back up if it's if one of the warnings in place gets removed. But yeah, it's been a tough week. Definitely, school got affected a little bit. Had today off because they were getting some power back on and stuff like that at University City High School. But graduation was still tonight. They got that done. Nothing bad happened there. But of course, my condolences go out to everyone. I posted about it before, but yeah, I mean, it's something that is sadly apparent. It's not something that we can prevent, really. It's the net kind of these kind of natural disasters happen, especially in this area, a lot. So yeah, I just want to make sure everyone's doing all right, and yeah, I think that's the main thing. And, in my mind, going into the weekend, I didn't really. I mean, because going into the weekend, I wasn't like, oh yeah, City's gonna win, and like all that. Wasn't super confident, so I wasn't really worried about the game too much. Of course, they lose 3-0 versus Minnesota, but yeah, I mean it's tough, but yeah, of course, I think like you said, St. Louis strong is one of the things that I think is huge. Is the sense of community that kind of brings people together for sure.
Yeah, so hopefully you all stay, and hopefully everybody's able to pitch in and help as much as everybody can.
And also adding to that, a few of the supporter groups I know I've seen have been putting out calls for volunteers, supplies, things. I know I saw statements from Santos, Generation City. There's some things I saw posted on the No Goal Patrol Discord as well. So, yeah, definitely thoughts and prayers to all those impacted on the Illinois side over here. We didn't get hit, but certainly thinking about our friends on the other side of the river.
Yeah, good for you guys, Oscar. We saw Estelle Santos make sure they had drives and all that. So Santos is always there to help, it looks like.
Yeah, I mean, it was an amazing watch party. I mean, it was very meaningful. Obviously, we had one of our members' closest friend was a victim of this, so we were touched by it, and a lot of people showed up and donated things, and obviously had a time to enjoy themselves, but at the same time, like reflecting on what we all live and that it could happen to anybody. So yeah, it was definitely something good for the community, and obviously there's gonna be good for their family in that hard moments where we can help them out. So
Yep. So just wanted to have this moment to let everybody know that we're thought and prayers are with them as well. So, and which would then kind of lead to one of the nice distractions, I will say, when it comes to having soccer in St. Louis. Unfortunately, St. Louis did not produce as well of a production as we wanted to. So, which brings us to the lost to Minnesota recap. So, there's been a lot of conversation about the way of play and also the second half. So, Charlie, for you first, what is your take on the overall of the game?
It's a systematic failure. No one player to blame, but there may be a couple people to blame. I'm not going to get into that right now, but the way you're playing right now is borderline unacceptable for the way that, before the season touting we will make the playoffs. Carolyn Kindle's saying it's a priority that they make the playoffs and that it's almost a given that they make the playoffs. It's tough to see this kind of loss. I mean, literally felt like you had no fight in that game versus Minnesota. Felt as though you kind of sat back and parked the bus down by 3, which made no sense. A lot of people calling for change, and I'm not. I'm not against that change, because I think when that kind of stuff becomes apparent, and you have players injured in training so much, and you're not winning games, and you're not getting points, and you're winless in your last 10, and you're falling in the standings, and you're closer to the lowest of the league than you are to a playoff spot, there's serious calls for concerns. And I think that's extremely valid. A lot of us woke up today thinking there'd be a press release. And of course, there wasn't. Nothing yet. Olaf Melberg is head coach of the St. Louis City SC soccer team. Nothing has changed. Lutz Fannesteel is still the sporting director of the team. Diego Gigliani has not commented on any of these things, but the way this team's playing right now is unacceptable. I think a lot of the fans aren't liking it. You're going to see more empty seats. You're going to hear more boo birds at the end of the game. You're going to hear a lot of the stuff where you see still support, but kind of wavering support from a lot of these fans that may not be die hard. They're not supporter section fans, but they'll show up to a couple games a season. They might start to not show up. So that's the only thing that I think is worrying right now. Also, just the play on the field, it's unacceptable. You have no transition game. You have no offensive production. Your defense has been atrocious. Roman Berkey's let in a couple stinkers recently. It's just rough. Overall, a game to not be, to not remember. I don't want to watch the replay. I don't want to watch the highlights. Of course, I had to watch both. It was not fun watching both, but yeah, it's not a great result at all.
How you feeling, Oscar?
I mean, to be honest, I pay more attention to the watch party, to hang out with my friends, hang out with my family, because I was with my wife and my 2 kids, and they were having a blast running around. So I did not watch too much in deep the game, and I refused to watch the replay. I just look at the recap and how the goals came in. But I mean, it's more of the same. There's no evolution in the game. There's actually feels like it's a regression in what we were doing. Hint why there's a 3 behind me. I did not that it was something that was already in there, but I wanted to use it as a prop just because we got scored 3, and we our first 5 games we were bragging about that we don't get score, and now like everybody scores on us, like I don't know, like is that toy play or something like that? I don't know, like a child's game. So I don't know. It just is a big regression, and unfortunately, like the news today were not as good as big part of the fans were waiting for. Because what are we waiting for? But I mean, we'll get into touch a little bit more on that and later on. But the game itself, there was not attack, nothing existed in there. We keep playing players out of position. We could not using the correct formations for them. We are not giving them tools to explode their skills. So that's why it's now. We cheer, we chant and all that, and then at the end of the day, it is at this point whatever until something really big change.
Ooh. Jeremy?
So before I get to the game, real quick, Oscar, you just mentioned something that I thought was hilarious from today's press conference. You mentioned the fact that we didn't, we went like 4 games without getting scored on, right? If you asked Olaf Melberg what he's surprised about so far this season, that's literally what his answer was. Like, excuse me, sir, you were brought here to fix this defense and you're surprised? Come on, man. Anyway, As far as this game, guys, the first surprise for me was the starting 11. Jake Gerwood-Reich randomly getting thrown in. I felt like folks had been wanting to see JGR get time, but a start, I don't think I had that on my bingo card at home. The bench, a couple guys on it, you know aren't going to be fit for a substantial time, and probably Kessler, Durkin. You don't even know what you're going to get from Rasmus Alm. So there's again, to me, I know it's important to get these guys game time in minutes, but my question comes down to selection. You've got City 2 up with you in Minnesota. Would you not rather put more youth on the bench so that can actually play meaningful minutes that if you need them than being reserved to saying, okay, I can only play 15 with Ulm. I might get 20 out of Durkin. Like, I really wonder where the pro and con of that conversation is. The game itself, regression was a great word you used, Oscar, and I'll second it. There just wasn't a lot positive, if anything, to take away. The defensive line continues to suffer. We continue to go back to leaking goals. I've got some ugly stats when we talk about City as a whole in terms of where we are that we'll get into later. But, man, I tell you, it was just not a fun thing. I didn't see the game live. I went and watched it after work today, and I wish I hadn't because I don't think I found much of anything positive to take away.
Wow, so it looks like a whole bunch of us did not watch it live. I didn't, and funny enough, I just watched replays of the second half because I refused to watch the whole thing. I think that's probably the first game of that part. So it looks like the whole consensus is that was this game worse than the previous SKC game or the one where they're not showing much hard? I'm trying to figure out where to draw the line.
It's very similar of the Seattle game.
Okay, yeah.
And even, well, I mean, Seattle game, we had a little live with the PK, but with this one, we just didn't have any live. And, I mean, Charlie mentions a little bit that, hey, Burke is letting some stinkers going in. But, I mean, do we really expect Burke coming in after a month of not playing and serious injury? Because, I mean, it's your hand. It's like something that is priority for goalkeepers. Like, it was going to be obvious that we were not going to be he was not going to be like straight the normal Berkey we know. So obviously he's not throwing himself to every single ball, and some of them he's just not even trying. But at the same time, is one thing that a lot of people have noticed. Even like, I mean, my wife noticed, and she's like 2 games in a row. She's telling me like, I don't like what Burke is doing, and it's like we talk about this that we needed a leader, but then our leader, the only thing that he's doing is yelling. He's not pumping. He's yelling, and he's digging at people where making mistakes or when the mistakes are done. So I've seen that Berkey before, and last year I didn't like it at all because there's some players do not work like that, and I'm taking literally the words that my wife had been telling me the past 5 days. Is like there's some players they don't work like that. Like if you dig on them, they're gonna go down instead of going up. And I think like that's something that also is happening in these games. It's like someone gets yelled at. If they're not taking it the right way, they just you getting out of the game.
Well, so interestingly enough, that's again kind of watching the replay today, and then even more listening to Marcel Hartl after the game, and then Durkin today. There's no fight in this team, whether it starts with Berkey or not. You don't see these guys going out and emptying the tank and just fighting through the adversity and fighting for the badge, as they say, as cliche as it might be. You just don't see it, and that's where my biggest problem lies. Like, if you lose, you lose, but at least go down with a fight. And as far as the Berkey goals from this weekend, guys, the second goal, I don't have much. I think he's caught between two minds because he sees Oluwashi making that run, and then Wangalane lays the ball back off to the goal scorer Pereira. And I don't know if Berkey was kind of caught trying to cheat following the runner, even though that was just terrible defending and more ball watching. The third goal from Gressel, I don't fault Berkey for either, because they let Gressel run all the way from midfield by himself into the box on the back post with nobody marking him. Hebert didn't even give him a glance. I don't fault Berkey for that. And the first
No, I mean,
goal,
there's no blames, but
yeah,
there's no blames by that. There's no that like huge reaction that Berkey normally has on those quick plays.
the little
I
sellout
mean, that's
saves.
like the little different. Like, I mean, I don't blame him on any of the goals. Like, he was
Okay.
it was left unprotected in all three, in my opinion. Yes, the second one he would have be able to do something else, but I think he tried to correct himself going the other way, thinking that that's where the shot was gonna go. And I mean, Pereira found a perfect spot there, and that it was just a gap in between all the defenders. So yeah, I don't blame it at all. It just, there's flaws in the system. We mentioned it before. Defensively, once we get one in, we fall apart, and that's not the solid defensive work what we had before, and we don't have a ways to come back. So once we get scored one, we already know that we're gonna lose. That's the sad story of City.
Yeah, and I think there's one thing that I keep bringing back off more often, is that a lot of it, when you're looking for like the players that have like the drive to, kind of come back from a 1-0, you're not going to see that from the defenders. They're already down. They got scored on. So the only players that you're looking for is your midfield and your forwards to show how aggressive they are to get back to make it 1-1. But if you think about it also as a defender, right? If you know for 80 minutes during the game, you are getting pounded by opportunities. Players, as you can see, Minnesota, they have players that are creative and aggressive, right? The back heel goal, there's only creative players that will actually attempt to do it, right? Would you say any of our players will attempt that at this moment?
No.
Because I only see them, they don't even take shots.
No.
Right?
That's no. I don't think any City players would do that right now. I don't think they'll do it in the future. I don't think they've ever done it. I'm gonna say something in a streak of stuff. I don't usually lose. I don't know. I don't usually sound off like this, but something
Do
needs
it.
to change. Okay. As a media member, I've had an insight to what is going on, and I'm gonna put it bluntly. There's been, I would say, irreparable damage done to this team by the current head coach. And when I say that, I'm not saying, it won in a play way, because you're not winning games. Oscar, I think you got some noise in the background. But you got that. You're not only not winning games, right? But you're installing a normalcy in being late to press conferences. You're installing a lack of transparency, and you're just not doing what you said you were going to do. I think it's a systematic failure. Either you got to change the system, or you got to change the system maker. And I think Wednesday will be a chance to say if Olaf changes the system, or if they lose and they change the system maker. I think at this point, this is probably the lowest this team has been. I think lower than the loss they had to Sporting Kansas City in the playoffs in the first year, lower than when Bradley Carnell got fired, lower than before the summer transfer window last year, lower than when City recently lost to Kansas City. And I would say right now is even worse. You're in a worse situation than you were on Saturday when you lost, because Now you have the chance for what we saw last year with Bradley Carnell is a fractured locker room. I'm not sure what's going on. No players will say, yeah, I don't like the coach. That's not what they're going to do. No player is going to say that. If they do say that, they are going to be benched and immediately, like, loaned out. Like, the way that this is currently progressing, you will quickly see St. Louis City SC just become another team in the MLS that gets 10,000 or 5,000 attendees per game. They fall into mediocrity and rarely make the playoffs. Like, I don't want this team to become that way, but they're starting to be complacent with mediocrity, and you're starting to become complacent with not sharing and not being clear with your fans, because the fans are the heart of this team. The fan groups, the Cecil Santos and other major fan groups, are the heart of this team. They're the ones chanting and standing for 90 minutes plus extra time. They're the ones creating fundraisers. They're the one doing watch along parties. Okay, this is the heart of your team, and you're starting to lose it because you're not being clear with them. You're saying, well, I think we were the better team consistently in press conferences. You're saying, well, I think we had enough chances consistently in press conferences when you had an expected goals under 2 on almost every game this season. So, no, you weren't the better team. And no, nothing is going to change with this current regime right now. The way that you fix this, it's not going to be this season. This season's a wash, in my opinion. You're not going to compete in an MLS playoff game in the playoff standings. I would say in the U.S. Open Cup this season. I don't see them winning on Wednesday because of their performance on Saturday. It gives me no hope. I think this team right now is at its lowest point it's ever been. And I think there's a couple ways to fix that. And I hope those ways come sooner than later because I want to see this team succeed. And frankly, my personal opinion is that some type of change in philosophy or in people would be needed.
Yep, but that also brings something to discussion, right? Because so we've had multiple coaches already, right? So some may have said that Carnell was maybe a little tougher on players and have expectations. Maybe some of the communications between what was not well taken. So now we have Olaf that's a little bit more softer approach. So are we now looking at maybe it's the players that are not knowing how to take that from two different coaches with different methods? Because from what I'm taking is that even as professional soccer players, I mean, if Carnell was too harsh, you're a grown man. you should be able to take it. And now you're playing to a style that it's not what St. Louis is known for. And I mean, no one is afraid of St. Louis whatsoever.
So I wanna put it this way. So when we got Lutz and he had his philosophy of playing and what type of players he liked, I remember a lot of people were saying, and I think he came from his mouth a little bit, that he didn't want players that they were problematic, right? That they were not will not bring like spies or like issues in the locker room. And that for me it refer a lot to Latin American players because they're known for that, like they're not either like they go on party hard when they win or they get the extra something outside. They get some fights in trainings because let's say example like Chicho Arango is known for being so hard headed that he sometimes like even like fights on training with people when they get on a bad tackle to him or like there's a disagreement. So Lutz start building this from day one, start building a team of very mellow players that one, they're not leaders, two, that they have been babyed. And that is the problem that happened with Cornell. In my opinion, obviously, I was not inside the locker room or anything, but I feel like the three top guys on payroll on You Are the Superstar of St. Louis City, they were so babyed about You Are the Superstar that they start complaining about someone that actually was making them work hard. So they got the coach out because these 3 or 4 were not happy with all this extra work, all these extra words, or any type of things like that. So they start moving along on that. You get Hack, that it was a nice guy and everybody got along with Hack, but at the same time everybody knew that Hack was not gonna last. So we're just going for it. We have nothing to lose. Middle of the season, we already eliminated. Might as well try your best. And now they bring this guy that I feel like has no control whatsoever of anything. He thinks that he has an idea, but that idea just it's a fantasy because Charlie said it. We are the best team every game, and even like even he said, I think on the last press conference, I saw a note from someone saying that, oh, he in some point said we had a chance to win it, and I'm like, win it, win what? So I was joking around on social media. I said, win what? The coin toss? Because that was the only thing that we got close to win. And we have been closer to winning the past 8 games or 10 games, whatever we are now. I lost track.
Yeah.
But these players, we built a squad to players that they just don't want to be pushed. And they don't have that passion. They don't have that extra thing of, I do want to win. I hate losing. I think the only one that we had before was in some moment Klaus that said, I hate losing because if I lose, my mom cries.
Mm-hmm.
So what I do I prefer my mom cries or make someone else mom cry? So that type of mentality was what it was making us at least competitive. Now we don't have any of that. You see, like Durkin, even like he was very hurt and seemed like he was captive. Like he had some change on his ankles, and like you say something wrong, and then like we're gonna start pulling and cutting your legs off, something, because he was just like all these saying today. He was demoralized. Like he was just like head down. Like he tried to protect himself and the players as much as he can, but they don't they they, they don't want to affront a reality, or they can't say anything about the reality of they're trapped in a bad system, in a bad person.
Yeah, I don't know. It looks like Jeremy, you have something.
No, you're
to say.
fine.
No, I think, and I keep bringing from the previous years that we've had a lot of those conversations that some people are saying, X player had too much attitude, X player had ego, this player had this and that. Or when Stroud was having problems, playing, people was criticizing him. When Israel Jackson was, having his bad moments, people were criticizing him.
Mhm.
But there's one thing that if you look at each of those players that we're talking about, when they were on the field, you see them hustle. How many players of ours do you see has received a yellow card for a rough play?
Tomas Ostruck. He took a strategic yellow in the game versus
But that was strategic yellow.
It was, yeah.
Yeah.
That was strategic yellow. I'm
they're
talking about like
fallback.
I'm talking like hungry, angry. I'm gonna take that ball and you're like with you. You don't see that. You don't see, other than Klaus maybe running all the way to our goalie and running back in offense. We don't have those blue collar players that we had in the first year that allow Klaus, that allowed Leuven to be the magician that they were, because they knew that they had horsepower behind them to help them and do the dirty work. We don't have dirty work players in this team. The closest we have at this moment is Xander Silva, because he has a little bit of that chip that he wants to play and try crazy things. But if you look on the team, we have way too many mellow players. That's where when we hit Minnesota, when we hit an LAFC, these guys run at you. Sergio is the only one that's most likely going to run at you at this moment until Silva gets his time to shine. Or Wallem was also one, but you see how it's maybe in the 3 or 4 players that will take on players.
And
the
this what you're
rest is-
saying, like, and then we play against some guys, like in Seattle, we encounter Ngungu,
Yeah,
right? And then he was starting shit off.
Yeah.
Then we play San Diego and Godoy, the CM.
Yep.
Tried to start
face.
all stuff, and he almost like pushed Ostrak and someone else. Like he just got pissed off with someone and went and pushed someone, and we don't have anybody. So everybody's like hitting us, but nobody of our team is doing anything.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna pull up something out real quick. I want to say some stats. Jeremy, I doubt you have these because these are just easy attainable stats. That no, I'm saying like
I know what you're saying.
Whoa.
It's okay. It's all right. I'll take the shade. Bring it on, buddy.
I'm saying Jeremy gets the deep stats. These are surface level.
I'm a rat. Bring it. I live in the darkness. Bring
right,
on
ready?
the shade.
Keep in mind, there are how many teams in the MLS?
30.
30? Okay, keep that in mind. City SC is 28th in FOTMOB rating in the MLS. They're 28th in goals per match. They are 29th in average possession. They are 24th in expected goals. They're 18th in shots on target per match. 26th in big chances. 28th in accurate passes per match. 25th in big chances missed. 22nd in penalties awarded. 28th in touches in the opponent's box. They are 23rd in interceptions per match, 29th in successful tackles per match, 28th in possessions won in the final third, and they are not noteworthy, and they're not top in any stats except for expected goals conceded. Like because their defense is kind of good, it saves them from that, but that's it. That's the only thing that's solid about this team right now.
But yet everything you hear online is how bad the defense is.
So,
but yet they're the one that have so far the best stats.
So
that's kind of weird.
Maybe, but hang on. so I want to go back for a second. You guys we've talked about the players a little bit. I've got a question for all three of you. What is City's style of play? Remember, Lutz said after 10 games, you're going to know what we're doing. Olaf's system will be evident, and we will know what City 0.20 or 2.0, whatever that style is supposed to be. For the life of me, other than sit in a low block and try to counter with long balls, I don't know what else our style is. And to that point, remember, we were supposed to be a high-pressing team still. City is dead last in the league in passes per defensive action, PPDA. So that means we don't press where the damn either. So somebody help me understand what our style of play is, because I still don't know what it is.
I don't know what it is.
I'll tell you.
Lose.
I got one after.
Give away goals, lose, and do not have a clue what to do with the ball.
And sit back
That's
at
the
the
style
second
play.
half, which makes 0 sense.
I mean, give up after a while. Just give up.
Okay, I got one. I want to share my screen. Ready?
Buckle your seatbelt.
Oh no.
Boy.
This is the City SC style of play. We'll go to this one.
Oh, that's disrespectful now. Come on.
Oh,
so we'll look at this clip.
No,
right here.
you better not show that one.
Oh,
you better not.
No.
The stream is over. I'm canceling the stream. You cannot disrespect Mbappe.
That's kind of what I'm thinking right now is the style of play for St. Louis. It is like I said, I just said it in the stats thing. I don't think one thing I did say is that they're 18th in shots on target per match. So, they were like really, really bad and everything else. And then they were kind of bad in shots on target. So theoretically, they're getting the shots, but like, dang, they just can't score. Like,
so
no, 18 is bad. I'm sorry. 18 is bad.
So just humor me for a second. So I know the game was terrible. The result was bad. But let's talk for a second. So it is scoreless in like 15, 20 minute. I don't remember exactly the minute of the match. There's a free kick. The ball bounces to Conrad Vollum about 8 yards out, and he's just absolutely stoned by the goalie. That ball goes in. Is it a different game? Or
You're still getting up goals, in my opinion.
Well, right, but here's the thing: that you miss. Now you're mentally where we are, mentally fragile. That starts to eat at you as the game goes on. The game goes on. There's another play in the 58th minute. It's 1-0 Minnesota. We are hitting on the counterattack. Pompeu forces a turnover at midfield, gets it to Toykert. Toykert carries probably 30 yards, lays a pass off to Celio, who takes a little heavy of a touch and can't get the shot off. It ends up getting blocked away for a corner. Those two moments, just watching the body language from both Pompeu and Toykert at that moment, they're both just laying there almost completely deflated, heads down on the pitch. I'm sure they're winded from running, but just the body language tells you the story about this team's mentality. They cannot take when something goes wrong. It's not so much like it's both. They don't want to not lose bad enough. There's a quote from Shorzy. It's that they don't hate to lose, but it's also more so that they just are so fragile right now because everything seems to go wrong, that once one thing goes wrong, then another thing goes wrong, then it snowballs, and they're not mentally strong enough to get out of that funk.
I've got something,
Charlie.
But if you just,
I've got something.
But if you just mentioned that part, right? You just mentioned two players running majority of the field to create a chance. Wouldn't you want to, when you see Celio Tuco actually running, you're expecting maybe 5 other players to be near it just in case it happens. So when you know you're playing that much of a long ball and you're running as much just for you to take the occasion or the shot pretty much, you get deflated because you're like, I've literally done everything but you to have a tap in and you were not there.
Yeah. Real quick, I want to show something. I think I just got another game break here. Another live look into
if you
Friday,
show Mbappe, I will cancel.
Friday City SC training.
Oh boy.
Jesus Christ.
So that's what they're doing at Fridays. Apparently that's what they're doing because some of the injuries right now, I'm just gonna list them off real quick. So with the ones you have right now, you have Totland still coming back. You have Zelensky, who apparently his ankle started to swell up after the game. Joachim Nielsen still hasn't played consistent minutes. Jonas Horn still is not back from the knee injury. Alfredo Morales still injured from the groin injury. And then Kessler, again, was a no-show in practice, hoping it's a rest day, but it might not be. He might have re-aggravated something in a Saturday game after coming back for the first time. So this team cannot stay healthy. Like, what are they doing? Yeah. We've said this like every episode for the past 5 weeks.
And he didn't play on Saturday.
What are they doing in practice?
He didn't play on Saturday. So
he got hurt getting off the plane or something. I don't know what they're doing. But go ahead, Oscar. Oh
no, so, I mean, if we're gonna talk about like all those injuries, like obviously out of all those that you're mentioning, the biggest issue is that some of them they get re-aggravated on Friday or the day before game, whatever day it will be, but they will get re-aggravated on those. It's like, what are we doing? Are we really pushing on a Friday practice to do what? Because we have pressure to win? Because we're not playing well and we still have to work on things, but that's not the way to do it. Like, you're killing your players by trying to succeed something. That's just saying that you are very bad at your job as a coach and your training staff is very bad at your job, because you should not be depending on a Friday practice to solve the issues of 10 games.
One other question real quick. So just kind of, I'll come back to the injuries thing, but I was thinking about something. We talked about 2 clear chances we had in the game against Minnesota, right? At the press conference today, Durkin was asked about chances to win and chances and shots, because I think it was, I don't remember who asked, but somebody pointed out that we didn't have as many touches in the box. We had few, we might have had we had the most passes in the offensive third that we've had all season, but again, almost near the lowest touches in the opponent's box. And his comment was something to the effect of, we don't have touches in the box, but we still have chances to score because we have all these crosses. I'm so frustrated by the reliance on crossing because it is such a low chance of conversion opportunity. Then you have to start to convert those for me to actually view those as a viable way to generate offense, because 2 games ago we were 1 of 17 from crosses, with Josh Yarrow being the only guy that could complete one. I will fully admit I didn't bother looking up the stats from the shit show that was in Minnesota over the weekend. I should have, but I didn't. And so I'm over this crossing thing. Am I alone? Anybody?
No.
Is this thing on?
So in so that's kind of like giving you the answer of what our style supposed to be, because the way that he built the team with 3-5 whatever is to have those 5 and have those wingers going up and down, making sure that you keep the field wide and you utilize it for crossing. But first of all, if you're gonna do that, you can't have Watts being the ones who process. You can have, I mean, Horn is a lot better at it, but you would think it wouldn't be a mostly center back wouldn't be that person. And in the receiving end, you do not have a Lukaku. You do not have an Zlatan. You do not have a, I don't know, Mo, help me out with a
Drogba,
great
he's on
Drogba. Like a good, strong number 9 on the air.
You don't even
Benteke,
have
for
a Wout
example, in
Weghorst.
DC. Like, you do not have one guy that can win any ball in the air.
Hey, we had one, but he got shipped because he had bad attitude.
Eh,
Then
I don't know. Can we go get Marouane Fellaini out of retirement? I mean, he played
No,
striker for
no.
United in an FA Cup final. He can
We
do it
we
for
don't
us.
do not say anyone that's near retirement. That's close to Europe. Do not say retirement. What
But
we
hey.
need is somebody that's hungry to prove. We had those guys.
Oh,
Thierry
We had those
Henry,
guys, but
MLS
they're-
return. He's gonna
Kai
come.
Kamara.
He's coming to St. Louis City. Thierry Henry gonna sign with St. Louis
Yo,
City. Mark my
Kai
words.
Kamara.
He's coming.
Hold on. No. Kai Kamara was just signed like 3 weeks ago as a free agent. Why the hell didn't we give him a look? I know he's like 40, but what the hell?
He's 40, but he's still in better shape than most of the
Yeah,
guys
he looks
we
like
know.
20.
And
That-
you
that
saw the
dude still
tweet. I
score
did
goals.
put it. I did
But
put
he's
it on the
dangerous in the
tweet
air.
and all that. I said he's still available. He was training. I follow him, and he lived in Kansas City and all that. So he was practicing. He was in better shape. He played for his national team. He was there. I was asking myself why, unless maybe they talked to him. I don't know.
Yeah.
But at least there's a striker. He's number 2 goal scorer in the MLS.
It's not German.
No. Well,
But-
no, instead we want to run Toykert as a lone striker. That does not work either.
No.
I don't understand why we think that
I mean-
works. It has never worked. If you want to run an offensive thing that is truly based on pace, run out Betcher. He's probably the fastest of the 3 strikers you got. If that's what you're if you're not gonna play Klaus and you want to play quick on the counter, go with Betcher.
But the problem
Here-
is that
here's an
Petr
issue.
does not come back like Klaus
No.
does. And Klaus is more. It's funny because I think I'm starting to see Klaus is almost a little bit more as a midfielder than the midfielders that we have, because he's actually going up and down.
Yeah, I mean, he actually cares in defending and
Right.
Yeah.
gets pissed off
But-
of those kind of plays. But
But there's your problem that we were just talking about. Of Mo, you mentioned you don't want your striker or your midfielder, your wingers having to run 40, 50 yards just to try to get a shot, right? But if Klaus has to run back to play defense, that's the problem. This idea of like, I get it. It's romantic, right? This idea, let's defend as a team. Let's score as a team. Yay, team. Everybody team. Screw that. I'm done with it. Play your fucking position. Excuse my language, but I'm over this crap, man. Play. You have an assigned role. Do that. Trust the defenders to defend, the midfielders to support them. Transition the play up the field to your strikers and put the ball in the damn net consistently. We want wins. We're sick of this crap. All right, I'm done. Sorry.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I feel better.
You're hitting a lot of things. So, one thing that I was gonna say with all the crosses and things is like I don't think we have realized that we have issues in the air as a team. No, obviously fans have realized that we do have those issues because we see it. But how many times we're getting scored on set pieces? How many times we getting scored on like a long throw in or crosses and how many times do we not score on crosses? Do we not score on set pieces? We don't win a header to save our lives. And somehow we still play to crosses and we still play to a long ball for a center forward to bring it down to start building out the play.
It's all set pieces that they're supposed to practice. I mean, set pieces is what you practice at practice, so you know who stands where and how. But I don't know how many goals we've conceded with set pieces.
Well, conceded many.
Yeah, so it's like there's that problem there that a lot of those set pieces is something that you should practice and know exactly where you are. That back heel goal was one of the perfect example where everybody's looking at everybody else thinking someone is going to put a foot there or a body there. And then once it score, you see 3 or 4 players looking at each other. You go like,
well,
and that's why I put on Twitter, if you watch Diego Silva, I put it on there. They show a little clip of him. The man was, if the ball was on the white line until the ball passes it, he was there. Right? So that's the willing to go get the ball is something that's lacking. I don't know if they're afraid of getting injured because then after that, there's not much behind to, because we don't have a bench, right? If you watch who we currently having playing, and we do have our fourth and fifth string players having to start games, but also you have to ask your question is who else is there? That's why these guys are playing, because they're healthier. Maybe we should check what Josh and the other guys that are staying healthy. Maybe we should watch what they're doing after practice and during practice and say, hey, now everybody follow these guys, because you provide us those stats that Josh has played more games he has recently than he has in the past 2 years at City.
Yeah, he's over the minute. He's probably 100 minutes over this year what he played all of last year for the entire season.
And we have our center back DP that has not played as much, but he's still collecting huge checks.
Nilsson wasn't even on the bench this game. The only center back that's on the bench was Kessler. Your bench for this game was Alm, Betcher, Silly, Durkin, Kessler, Klaus, Lund, Reed, and Silva. So of those people, Alm is on a minutes restriction. Durkin's probably on a minutes restriction. Kessler's probably on a minutes restriction. And you're not going to play Lund as an outfield player. So half of your bench right there is wasted, in my opinion. I don't get it.
Yes.
So
wait.
I have a question, because we were all happy when we saw the news that Silly was in the squad, right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, he had good minutes in preseason. He did a decent job when he was up there in preseason. He hasn't been called up at all. but on City 2, he's doing a good job. Like, he's a good player, so he's consistent. You call him, why do you don't play him? Why? He didn't even see the field. I would have started him. I would have started him before JGR.
Yeah, he has
Okay,
played more
guys,
minutes. He should
So
be.
we kind of talked about how like we feel like Olaf's just throwing out lineups and just like
Okay.
because you started JGR today and then you had the bench being in disarray. I'm gonna give a little preemptive lineup prediction.
Uh-oh.
So we got Timu Baumgartel at the striker, Jake Gerwood Reich as left wing. We got Njabu Blam back from loan, playing midfielder. You got Joachim Nielsen, Ben Lund. This is your attacking midfield. You got Roman Berkey, Simon Betcher, Samuel Adinaran, Chris Durkin, Thomas Totland, and Shao Klaus in net. I think that could be a good one. And of course, you'll go with the 5-4-1 because it worked against a USL2 team.
So is there like a glitch that happened after the tornado that maybe somebody either hacked?
No, I
These
mean,
kids
I mean,
just-
so with the way that the
Well-
lineups have been going out there, when you're just like throwing stuff at the wall, I mean, why not put Berkey out there? Why
Well,
not put Lunt out
I
there?
think Charlie got hacked.
I
think
was
he
looking
got
for
hacked.
Oliveras to put up
Alright,
there, but I couldn't
alright.
find him in the lineup.
Charlie, did a log hit your head at some point?
So JGR, in my opinion, you've got to. I get the idea. It's a valid question. JGR versus Silly, and the only logical explanation I can think of is you paid an $800,000 transfer fee for JGR. So at some point, you either play him or you cut your losses, and at least he's got to get minutes. You're not gonna. No disrespect to Cam Silly, he's doing good at City 2, but you didn't pay $800,000 transfer fee for him. So at some point, you've got to play the guy.
But this is
That's
but
a-
this
it's
is
a crappy
player
argument,
management. This is player management.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry, Jeremy, but this is player management. This is
Yeah.
you have been limiting JGR to not play, or I think against Kansas City he came in for 15 minutes
Yeah.
or so. You have been limited for a reason. You call this kid. There's no disrespect. There's no salary. There's no that doesn't matter. You brought this kid, play him, and keep managing JGR the way that you were. Be consistent. Be consistent.
Yeah, and
If
Silly
JGR is
has
not ready-
played. He had the
if
full
J-
preseason and the full season, so he's
and
ready.
he has not been hurt. He has been playing. He plays every city game, and he plays 90 minutes. So he's more fit than JGR. So you can play him, and he will give you better results than JGR. JGR is still going in your minutes up to 90 and whatever.
And he runs.
He's not good. I mean, the second goal against Minnesota, there is a bad pass from Wallen, but it's also call JGR basically waiting for the ball to come to him instead of him going to the ball. He loses the ball, then they take on, and he jogs back. Jogs. A freaking 6 jogging back when you fucking lose the ball? You gotta be kidding me.
Mhm.
And then that guy that receives the ball and scores the goal, that was the guy that you should be on top of him as a JGR. And he realizes the moment that he scores the goal, he's like, oh, yeah, that was me.
Yeah.
And Aaron,
Also-
yes, City should beat Minnesota too because City 2 did.
I'll say this real quick.
Yes.
I was just looking at the Olaf number quick at Peter page because I just wanted to know more about I don't know how would he develop a style. He managed a club for 2 months. He was a manager for a club for 2 months once. Fremad Amager, a Danish club. So he went Swedish, Danish for 2 months, then Swedish, and now for City. Like, what happened? What was that? What was that about? He played 6 games. He played 8 games. He won 3 of them. He did pretty good over there in Danish country. But like, what was that about? Why was he coach for them for 2 months from July 1st to September of in the same year? Like, what?
So
that about?
you're talking.
That's
So
great.
so are you talking about Olaf, right?
Yeah.
So he there could have been things he was doing to finish his coaching licenses. That's why he took time off and left after his successful stint at Brahma. He was finishing his coaching licenses to be eligible to coach in other leagues.
Money
Fair.
well spent, right?
What?
Money well spent for him getting the licenses.
So as far as JGR, real quickly, he is only 20 years old. He's a U22, and there was someone in the chat who asked. So he is signed through 2027. He has an option for 2028. So he's a long-term piece that this team has locked up for years. So
Or an investment to be sold for more.
Right. Well, that's probably the goal, right? But in order to be able to flip him for more, you've got to get the guy some minutes, or at least see what he's capable of.
Yeah, and so I think that part that we're saying, bringing in players, but what we were told is that Olaf is someone that looks up to bring younger players up to the first team, right? Yes, Makai had his opportunities, but we do also have some homegrown players that should be getting minutes to show what they have available. No, they won't start, but at least if we know that we have certain players that cannot play a full 90 minutes, how about you put some of those kids that have engines for 90 minutes, but you give them 20?
Pretty sure
and
one of
then
those
play those
homegrowns got a
guys in
goal.
their right positions.
Didn't one of those homegrown score the winning goal for City 2, by the way? Just throwing that out there.
Yeah, and the fun part is I was told by his dad, right? You know how Miggy played the first season? He was playing as a CDM, right? That is not his natural position. He's just a midfielder. He's a scoring midfielder. But for the need of City in the first season, they put him as a CDM because guess what? He's doing something some of the players are not doing today. He was more aggressive and he was fighting for balls. That's why they moved him from a CM to a CDM.
Yeah. I'll just say
now
this real
he's
quick.
scoring goals.
Yeah. I'm going to sneak this in real quick. With the managerial stint that he had in Sweden or in the Danish country,
in
the Danish league, just real quick, while he was getting his license, you know who he met there and then took with him?
Selmy or Pedro? I'm kidding.
Oh, that's a good one. No, as Rudin Valentic, assistant head coach.
Oh, yeah.
So
Valley.
he played 8 games. He coached 8 games at a club and said, I really like this assistant coach. I'm going to take him everywhere I go from now on.
That's nothing new. That's nothing new.
But I don't know.
That's nothing new. Soccer coaches do that all the time these days. If you watch a lot of the players, I don't know about MLS, but the rest of the world, you will see coaches have their staff pretty much.
Yeah, they have their staff to move around. But
Yes.
he found that staff in 8 games. You would think that'd be more of a trial and error thing.
Hey, there's some that get picked. Pacino has 2 of his coaches were a month coaches that he picked up. Yes. So but I think that part, I think the coaching part, we don't have as much history behind of how Olaf history is as coaching. I know once they called his name, say that he was going to be a city coach, people were saying, his winning percentage and all that. I kind of ignored that part. But the one part I'm still missing is that he's supposed to bring some of the young kids that we have in our system to gain opportunities. This is probably the best time that you can bring someone from the city that knows what the city is for. They know what the city stands for. So the moment they touch the grass, they know that they're not only playing for themselves, but they're also playing for their city. There's a whole bunch of players in the world. Pride is the biggest thing for them to play for. If you don't have that pride, most of the time, if you lose, you will have you drop your shoulder and we'll see what next game happens. That fire is missing at this moment. That's why I keep saying we had some of those players. They were getting yellows. There was arguments, yes, but that happens because it's grown men playing a sport and they're all competitive. Right now, we have a lot of very nice guys. And that's coming from somebody that's typically a very subdued person. But when I cross the white line and I play soccer, I will talk smack and I will be aggressive.
So
I mean, I almost get in a fight every time I play, even if I'm playing a freaking
yes, and then right, and then after that,
so
when
yeah,
the game's
like
over,
I'm that passionate. So yeah,
yes.
it definitely like something that it hurts when you see players that they're not even trying to create some, like, you're losing for pity's sake, like you're losing 3-0, and there's nothing, there's no shit starting, there's not a push, there's not like, hey, stop toying around with me, like, seriously. And
go get that one goal, right? You need, yes, you're losing 3-0, but you want to go get that one goal to say, hey, we made that one. But now, like,
so
and a lot of people say like, oh, well, it's just the players, like the coach cannot control the players. I think like Olaf's message has gone so deep into them, like in such a bad way, that they don't even feel it. Like they just like, they're so clustered on like that mentality of Olaf has preached to them, like, be organized, don't make mistakes, pass back or pass the way that you're facing. I mean, yes, that's one-on-one soccer for the 12-year-olds and 13-year-olds, where you try to make them realize that if you cannot turn, you pass the ball back. But also, when you are a professional and you have talented professionals, because let's say we're not an awful non-skilled squad. Like, we do have skills. We showed them last year when we were scoring goals for fun. Even when we were getting score on us, we were creating chances. We were having fun. Like, remember having Deutscher and Hartel and Betcher combining and creating 1-2s and things like that, like in small reduced spaces. We don't see 1-1-2 in City this year. We don't see one. We don't see that playing one touch in a small sided space to get out of pressure. Is everything 2 touches, 3 touches? We freak out with the ball. We don't want to give it away. We're so scared of like doing good things with the 1-2s, with the one touch, because I mean, I miss in someone was putting Jerry Stroud today on social media that this is the guy what we need right now, and I was like, no, he's trash. But at the same time, it's like, if you go back and watch the first games of City, the way that Lewin, Ostrak, Stroud, and I believe Gioacchini will combine on one-touch passes, that ball will move so quick that they couldn't even bring the pressure in to us because that ball was moving and moving. Right now, there's nobody that passes one touch. And I think that's a coach perspective. That's not a player's perspective. That's a coach of, make sure you take 2 touches. Make sure you look where you're passing. You don't force it. If you're facing back, pass it back so we don't lose the ball.
Well,
so I'm very confused on that end.
Well, that's how Minnesota got their second goal. If you watch that, or was it the third? Might have been the third goal. Either way, that buildup, they literally they took a throw in on the right side of the field. They tossed it back quickly, switched it around the back line, and then just quick one touches. Midfielder to the winger. He continues his run. They play him through. He overlaps again, comes back, runs down to the corner. They play it across. They're down to the corner, near the corner. He then swings it over to Gressel on the back post unmarched. It's quick, it's seamless, and it's pretty. We can do that, but we don't. Even the second goal, where they had the one-touch passing from Wong Lane back to Pereira. I mean, it was just a one-touch settle back off onto the left foot of the goal scorer from, the top of the 18. I mean, that's beautiful football that we could be playing, but we don't.
We don't do any of those.
I have a question for you guys. And so the first ugly stat of the night. Since Charlie was throwing shade, I'm going to throw an ugly stat out at you guys. All right, here we go. So in the second half this season, St. Louis City has been outscored 14-5 in the second half, and it's uglier because 13 of the 14 goals have come after the 60th minute, 13-3 after the 60th minute of play. Is that a result? And the question is that just the fact that we're bad, or is it a result of us being so injured at the back line that we're having to run Yarrow out for 90 minutes, run Hebert out 90 minutes, run Baumgartel out 90 minutes, and we can't rotate our center backs like we used to?
Neither.
I mean, I would say it's preparation, first of all.
Mhm.
It's preparation, and I've been hitting this dead cat for a while. Is what did we do in preseason? Why everybody's getting hurt? Why we do not have players that they're fit to play 90 after 13 games, 14 games? And why is the drop of level after 67 minutes, right? So it's preparation, but it's also the way that you build your squad. So everything goes towards your coaching staff, because one is fitness, second one is recovering your players, and then as you building a squad, you build your squad, and you want to pretend that your squad's gonna run 90 minutes. That's the main goal. Like, a good coach or a good team would not depend on subs to win. That's what your mentality should be. My first 11 should be holding for 90 minutes.
Yep.
But when things changes in a game and you need something different, then what you're gonna bring from the bench? And if you have your bench, what you were saying, Jeremy, you had players that right now are in minute control, then you're limited your choices, because then you have to wait until the minute 70 or 75 or 80 to bring them in, because you don't want to break them again, right? And either so, like, they break anyways. So, but so you can't maintain that level, the 70 minutes, especially when you're defending all the time. You're not protecting yourself with the ball, so there's more fitness in ball. You did not prepare for that, and now you bring in players that they are either scared of getting hurt again, or they're not fully ready, so they're not gonna go all full 100%. They're gonna jog the field. They're gonna not go in a 50-50 ball. Do not go in a hard tackle, because they don't want to injure themselves. I mean, we've seen it with Nielsen. We've seen it with Ostrak right now. Ostrak, he's hell of a player. But have you seen it on a 50-50 ball? Especially after he only plays 46 minutes every game. Let's say after the 40th minute, I don't think he goes on a tackle.
They're still mental. Yeah. And I think there's the whole 70 minutes, as you can see, is that, like we saw the last 3 games or 2 or 3 games, where it's 3 players at the same time asking to be subbed out. For me, it's rare to see actually one player asking to be subbed out. So when you have 3 players being subbed out at the same time, there's all your planning is out the window, right? Because you typically want to go one at a time, right? So that one comes in, then they have to mesh with the current play. So you bring one and another. Here, when 3 players says we want out, there's your plan out the window. And you saw that's where those goals starting to come, because they're still trying to get into the groove of the game when they're playing against players that have been playing for 70 minutes. I think that's that one part. The other one is that you have your 4 defenders. They are playing every 90 minutes, but also they're constantly being attacked, right? During the 90 minutes, they're either asked to play defense, not to be scored on, but they also are asked to play on the offensive side because you see, you know, Josh having a lot of touches. You see Horn get a lot of touches. Our defenders are almost getting the most touches as our midfielders. So one, they have to play in offense with the team, but then you probably would get guys. I think we're back. So
yep.
yes, I think it's like a combination of things that happened during the 70th minute that shows the disconnect between who is currently playing and who just came in, and then this whole disarray just becomes an advantage for our opponent. You don't get 3 players subbed in usually at the same time, and usually if you do that, is tactic. It's not because they're tired.
Yeah, I mean, now you see it because you have the 3 windows and you have to use the 3 windows in a smart way. But yes, I mean, I think every time we sub in 3 is because we are struggling and we have to react at something. And that's like the problem that our coaches, like always, we criticize Carnell because we said he subs very late. He is always reacting to what's happening in the game instead of being proactive. And I don't think we change. I think Olaf is even worse because he has a bad construction of the bench, and then he goes and waits until we get score on to make a change. Even if he already recognized the issue, he waits because it happened against Kansas City. I saw Kansas City before the second goal, before the free kick. He was already ready to bring 2 guys or 3 guys. Why did we wait? Why did we wait on that set piece? Because he knew he was bringing Kessler and he was bringing JGR. Technically, is 2 defenders to refresh and to be strong in the back. So why did we wait on that? And it's always the same thing. Now against Minnesota, I don't even know where the subs came in, but I think it was very reactive when we were already 2-0 or 3-0. So always like not being proactive or trying to change something. And we're not adding to play. We're adding to not concede more or to not make more mistakes. There's no freedom on playing. There's no creativity. There's no inspiration. There's no spark from anybody. So I mean, at this point, yes, bring a lot of the kids and play and let them play, because if you watch a City 2 game, they're running, they're creating spaces, they're making diagonals. There's one that checks, once that covers the space behind it. Like, there's proper soccer moves going out there. And someone was mentioning here that if you have the picture of the all 7 players standing in the city game against Minnesota, like, there's nobody doing anything. And I'm gonna say yes, they're tired because you're losing 2-0 and 3-0, and the only thing that you have done the entire game is defending. Yes, your legs are gonna be tired. So at the moment that you transition to attack and trying to get 1 goal, you don't have that much stamina anymore. So if nothing's clear, mostly your brain's gonna say, I'm just gonna stay here and see if I can get a ball and start passing. While the kids, and I think there were 2-2 on the 80th minute, and they were like moving. They were going. Like, and that's how they got the goal. There was a lot of commitment in the attack. There was like 7 players going in the attack, and all of them are moving and creating a space.
Yep. No, off-ball movement has been a problem with City for the entire season. We don't make runs, and I kind of want to ask this, guys, is it going back to this whole conversation we've been kind of having throughout the show of this defending as a team mentality wearing us down to the point where we can't make those runs consistently in the offensive third when we get there? Is that part of this problem?
I don't know if that technically works.
Yeah.
I per se don't know or can't recall a team that says everybody does that, because the strikers that I've been fun to watch, they're not going in defense.
No.
Some
They're
of the
your outlets
midfield-
to trans. Yeah.
And the reason why they do not want to do all that is because they want to be closer to the final third and hit the speed, then not having to run. That's why we criticize a lot of the top players in the world, says, oh, they don't like to defend. Like, yeah, no ish. They do not like to defend, because we all know that if you're tired, usually your shot is not going to go where you want it to be because your legs are dead. That's why the ball goes all the way to the bleachers, because you have no longer control. It worked for players when everybody was on the same page to, play, team as a defense and everybody's in the offense at the same time. But at this moment, we do not have the players that will do that. If we had 3 or 4 more Klaus, maybe I would have said, yes, that's feasible, because he defends and he plays in offense, but Klaus cannot do that all by himself. And then once we switch with him and Betcher does not come back in defense. So that means we're actually losing an extra player defending. That's where we get outnumbered, and bam, they score. Because first we have 5, 6, 7 players defending, but then you take Klaus out, so Betcher has to stay up. So now it's 4 or 5 people defending. Right. And then you take another player that does not want. Then we know Celio is most likely not going to be defending, right? Xander Silva is not necessarily going to come back in defense. So as you can see, now you start to take more and more player out of defensive work. And then before you know it, you have 4 tired center back, and then Boanga show up, and bam. That's the way I see it, at least.
So, why did we get score the third goal against Minnesota?
Why? And I don't know
why Gressel was by himself, and
nobody marked him. Nobody marked him. No, it's not. It's Zonde's. I mean, if you want my honest opinion, I'm putting the blame on Silva. Silva's jogging back. He's not. He's a sub. Why is he not? He didn't mark. Am I wrong?
Okay, so you are correct. But what happened is, like Silva said, I don't give a fuck. I'm not tracking that runner.
It's 2-0
already in the
80th minute. Yeah, you're fair.
I'm not a defender. I'm not a left back. He said, that's not my job. I want to go score goals. I'm not going.
Yep.
But the issue with this is that you have a system that depends on these people to go back. Yeah. And we have had Wallem doing it and Horn doing it and a lot of them doing it. But we finally got one person who said, no, I'm not running back. At this point, I'm not going back. And maybe he can handle it. My defender can handle it. And Heaver didn't recognize the 2 guys. He was focused on one guy that he was right in front of him, right? That he was coming straight to him. But he never looked back. And nobody did warn him at all. But at the same time, it's like, you could have a little bit swiveled your neck and said, like, oh, there's another guy. Maybe I should go that way, right? So, yes, Heaver had a little in there. But I mean, we're not gonna blame him. That's a distrusted defendant, and Gressel just exploded the space. But I go back to the point. Silva said, "Fuck it."
Yeah, he didn't care.
He
You're
said,
right.
he said,
No,
"I'm
he,
not doing it."
he
Because you
didn't.
said, like he was jogging. I don't think he was even jogging. I think he saw him running. I'm like, bye.
You're not wrong. That's what it looked like. You're 100% right. Because I went back and watched that replay like 5 times. I'm like, okay, who missed something? And I'm like, oh yeah, that's what it was. And like, just like, I can speed walk faster than he was moving back. But anyway,
I just think he didn't want to. Like he's just like, I'm not doing it. Because we're building a system that it depends on defending with 11, and in the moment that things get tiring, then if one piece fails, we get scored on. And I mentioned it a month ago. Can we learn how to defend with 5? Can we learn how to defend with 6? So our other players are not focusing on defense and spending all their fitness in it. Can we learn how to do that? Because a lot of teams do that. A lot of teams defend with, even sometimes they defend with only 4. Like Miami last year. I'm sorry about Miami because I know a lot of people dislike Miami, but Miami did this last year. Miami defended with 4 people all season.
Oh, okay. Let's go back in time. What were we doing the first year, or even once we got Durkin? 4 defenders and Durkin in front. You set up as a 4-back with a CDM playing, a 6 playing deep. Like it just screams that Olaf does not trust his players to do it. In my mind, and it is at the sacrifice and detriment of our entire team that this is happening. He doesn't trust the quality in his players, which, by the way, he talked about up until this past week. If anybody noticed the shift, now it's all of a sudden I don't trust. Now he's off the quality problem, and he's not talking. I don't know if that came from the top down or what, but it to me 100% right. It's he doesn't trust his team. So we got to defend his 11, and because of that, we can't do anything else right.
Yeah, but the thing is, you don't want all your offensive players, minded players to then, hey, no, now we're going to defend so we can help our guys in the back. And at the end of the day, the sport of soccer, you're supposed to score more goals than the other team, right? So, yes. Okay, our team leaked just 2 goals, right?
Score 3.
Then score 3, right? And guess what? Last year, LA Galaxy, their defense was not that great, and they were old. The defense that we're talking about now for the LA Galaxy that's dead last is the same defense they had last year. But what was the difference? Last year, they had midfielders and forwards that had the ball and they were going up about 80% of the time. What does it do? Give your defenders a break, a time to reform themselves to get ready for the onslaught. But when you have your team and your 4 defenders being literally on focus mode for 70, 80 minutes, right? And then you ask him at the same time to be part of the offense because they do have to go up and down. They do have to hold the ball. Like I always say, right? I was surprised that Josh had foot skills because he have shown us that he has foot skills, which we did not see in the previous 2 years. The reason why we're seeing it now is because he has to hold the ball a lot longer than he has to before. The guys that we're missing now is the exact same thing. So they're all holding the ball too much and they're staying in their side too much.
Oh, okay. So the question then is, would you rather be in those games? Like, so let's just hypothetically say the results are the same. We're 2, 4, and 6 or whatever our record is now on 11 points, 14 in the West. But we're playing that wide open soccer where we're going and getting goals. We're letting up goals, but the games are a shootout and we just can't win. Would you rather be doing that and where we are or where we are with what we've got?
100% go for it. Okay. If the other team is better than you, then so be it. They are better than you. we all understood that when we play LA Galaxy, we knew when we played LAFC, we knew when we played Seattle, right? We knew those teams were most likely beat us, but you
Yeah.
still had to show up. Now here is that we're finding ourselves having to blame players for losing a game versus blaming the other team player for losing the game. And one thing I always point out is that a lot of our fans, St. Louis fans, we do love to call out people by name, when mistakes are being made, right? But I think it's a whole 11 team that should be getting the blame for majority of the discussions because it does not start from 1 point. It starts from multiple points to reach our goalkeeper.
I mean, I just hate when obviously there's individual mistakes, there's performance mistakes that it happen in soccer. So if you're gonna blame, I go back to blaming the system because you are setting up your team and your players to failure. You're setting them up to be more propense to make those mistakes. And then the ones that's getting attacked are the players and not the coach, because the coach is like, well, I'm not playing. We made mistakes. Yeah, we should have done mistakes that we did in the field, blah, 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 blah. But you are forcing those mistakes where your planification, where you're not giving enough support. And one thing that we haven't say enough is, and someone put it on that the no chemistry in the team is because the system is not building that chemistry, is not building those societies that in soccer are big, that creating those triangles to play, and those societies are not there because everybody when it gets the ball, one runs away trying to find a space, the other one turns around because he doesn't want the ball, and then this one goes turns around because he has to pass it back. There's no those societies that they say like, hey, give it to me and I'll play with you. Like I'll pass it back and you pass it back and you pass it back and I pass it back. And even like sometimes it sounds ridiculous, it looks ridiculous sometimes that they pass it 4 times in a row, back and forth.
Yeah,
but it works.
Yep.
Or did Xavi and Iniesta didn't do that all the time?
And the reason why they're doing that, they want the opponent to actually come to them while someone else is making the run on the outside. That's why it does look weird to a lot of people, but once you figure out that they're actually attracting 3 or 4 players, because then it becomes a 3v2, and now their forwards are up by themselves. And what you brought up, right? But the weird thing is that a lot of these players that just came in have been playing around each other since their U22, the German team. Like, shouldn't you know your other players' tendencies to be able to play? Because a lot of the game is knowing the tendencies of your teammates. Sometimes you don't even have to look to know where that player goes. You're like, hey, we know Silva loves to go to the right. We know he likes to cut to his right foot, then go to left and go to the middle. You should already know that in your head, that sometimes those passes, you don't even have to look. And I think that's the coercion. I'm like you mentioned, they don't know each other. It's like, isn't it 5 or 6 of them that have played and known each other since they're teenagers?
I
think that should be fluid, right?
I think someone cut their wings.
And that's where the question raised then.
Okay. So how much of the chemistry problem, I'm just going to say it, is down to injuries. Olaf has been talking about he hasn't been able to play guys where he wants them, and now they don't have relationships because of it. So is it just an out or is it bull? Is it BS?
I was on injuries first for a long time. But then now
Jeremy, I gave you a lineup.
It's an excuse.
I gave you a lineup last week.
Did you?
I gave you a lineup last week that with a different system, they would have played in a better positions.
You did.
I give it to you where the same lineup or the same type of players in the
Yeah.
starting 11 and the bench would have made more sense and would have connect better with a different system, with a different lineup. I definitely give it to you last week, and it just
Yeah.
but you're not building that connection because what's the first message that Olaf gives to the players? Do not concede goals. Set up your low block. Do not give space in the back.
All right. So
Then
one last
you're
question, I think, before we go to your hot take, Oscar. So we all have heard, right, that during practices is usually when you earn your starting position, right? So now knowing that we'll say the back line have played 4 or 5 games now nonstop and it's the same guys, is there anyone during practices that are challenging those 4 guys to try to take their spots? Because I would think that that's what competitiveness is, right? If you see and hear criticism that's keep happening, about the defense and all that, are there not other players behind that are pushing as hard during practices to take those players' spot? Because I would think that your mentality is like, oh, even though it's my friend and we play together and all that, but getting the heat. So you would do everything during practices to get that starting lineup. So are these defenders that everybody criticize are doing as much and better than the rentals and all that are practicing with them every day?
I don't think there is. I think they're all one now. They're all hurt, so they don't want to
Wenzel's not hurt.
do anything in practice. But
Rental is not hurt.
also,
He could have shown that something.
I mean, it's very weird because you do have players that should be stepping up or at least creating that fight, creating that challenge between them. But I see it more that the coach doesn't want to do it. Because just now he put JGR when JGR technically was ready, I think a month ago.
Yeah.
So, and then Wenzel has not been heard or heard the entire season.
Nope.
And he hasn't played 1 minute.
And he wasn't even rostered at the weekend.
I think is more of like the coach doesn't want it. Because also I know the rules of MLS are very restrictive, but you could still have the entire City 2 squad practicing with City, right? Like with the main squad, you can still have him practice. And then if you like something, then you bring him up or try to do something. Because if the center backs are not enough, I'm talking about Gabi Mikina.
Yeah, that's another one I forgot to name.
He's very solid on City 2, so why not to bring him and start being next to the team and see if he can challenge any of the starting or even just that, put in some pressure, forcing the other ones to raise their level.
Oh, hey Matt, maybe you have a good point that these guys behind are taking the starters.
Matt has the other way. Yeah, they're going too hard and everybody gets hurt. But no, I think the ways that we get hurt just like dumb ways to get hurt, not the really someone hitting someone. But I could be wrong.
So going to your point about the roster and these young guys, right? Cam Silly we talked about earlier. I was just looking up the roster rules because they're so confusing. I always have to do it. So he can be called up on a short-term loan 4 times and I'll be on a roster 4 times, but he can only play in 2 league games. So I don't know if they brought him up just as an in-case piece, and now they preserve by not using him his 2 appearances that he can make, or what. But that's the only thing I could think of is that we don't know what's going on, how long Morales is going to be out. We don't know how long it's going to be till Leuven is back. Durkin might still be on a minutes restriction. So do we need to say, okay, we want the body just in case of an emergency, but because it's so restrictive and he can only play twice, that he's up. By the way, he will still be on that short-term loan because I believe that that's a 4-day period. So he can be he'll be up for the US Open Cup game too, which does not count against his league appearances.
Which I guess that'll be a good way to test him to see
Yeah.
But yes, but we got to see some. I will say it until I start seeing. We need to start seeing some of these guys that have a little bit of that hunger to show what they have. Because at this moment, maybe our top players are not there mentally just yet. So, Oscar, now that we've gone through all of that, and hopefully we've not taken a lot of your hot takes. So, what do you have in mind to spice things up here?
So I got two. One is obviously about the team and what happened today.
Mhm.
And the other one is about the fans. So I might get in trouble. No, I'm kidding. No, okay, so let's start with the team one. So obviously everybody knows what happened today, that it was big rumors about Olaf getting sacked and just everybody wishing that would have been the one that happened. But the lack of transparency, first of all, the makeup press release, because I mean everything that was said today in that press release was a waste of time. There's basically messages that we have heard, or just denying or declining questions, or just swerving around the question to not say anything. So, I mean, I love the question that Jeremy asked, and the response was no, no, no. And then there was one after that it was very similar, and the answer was no, no, no. So there's not accountability on on these situations, and it's like, your seat is hot. Your seat is
It's
basically you're
porno.
sitting on fire right now, knowing that the next step that you're gonna do is gonna really be what you're in or out. But also, you are coming out here and lying and saying, no, everything's okay. And no, like, put yourself on perspective and say, like, no, like, we have a responsibility. I have a responsibility for this team and the fans. And we need to change. We need to win. We need to, like, say, like, straight things. Even if you're lying, but say straight things that you're going to say, no, we need to work. We're going to change. We're going to try different. Something, but not like, no, well, yeah, we know we're working on it. We know we're failing on this, but I think we've been doing some good things. I don't know which ones you see in there, but so that for me is dumb. And also that goes not only for Olaf, but Lutz, and if you want to include Diego, show your faces. Even if you're saying you are staying behind your coach, come and say it. Come and say, hey, no, we believe in our coaching staff and we're gonna support them. Even if the next week or after the next game they come and say, like, hey, we're firing him.
Yeah,
But
part of the job.
I've seen it in many teams. They come and say, like, no, we're behind the coach. We're with him. We believe that he can turn things around, and we're definitely very involved in this situation. We are with the team. We're trying to make things work for the best for all of us. But after all those rumors, It was a full day and a half of rumors of he might get, and none of your main guys come into a press conference. That was BS for me.
Well, and to your point, Oscar, it wasn't just us fans, right? It wasn't just the local people. You had Matt Doyle talking about it. Tom Bogert even had to put out a post about saying, "Oh, he's safe for now." Like, it's enough to get national attention. So you would think, there's obvious smoke to the fire somewhere, but they just don't address it. And I agree 110% with your take. It's embarrassing.
Yeah, you have to live under a rock to not think that your coach is in the hot seat after 10 games not winning. Like that's normal. But so I guess, is that your two takes? No,
So that's my take.
That was just
Yeah.
Yes, on the fan.
So my second one, and involves the fans, is that everybody, and I mean, obviously social media, you have a lot of like keyboard warriors and things like that just like they only show up their true colors there, but then when they're in the stadium, or they're around, like they're like the quiet ones, like they're going and sit and watch like they're in a movie theater or something. But there were some messages that some of them they put here in the chat up there, that one is when the supporters do something, everybody goes on the support. Oh, you guys think you're special, or you think that you guys are should deserve special treatment, and you guys are so important, and you guys, because you guys are making a statement, like who gave you that privilege, blah 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 blah. So like they go and dig on these supporters that we're actually trying to put a message and say, hey, enough is enough. And definitely happened last week where the booing happened, that a lot of people are like, oh, you should never boo the team, you should never do this, like this, you're supposed to be the supporter section. And it's like, we have a voice, and we are, and sorry if you guys don't like it, the people are some of them, they're listening and you don't like it, but we are the ones that put the most effort into the city environment for game days, like it or not. We're the one who's sacrificing hours and hours, days and days of putting this environment so you can sit on 141 or the suite whatever, or the 2 whatever, and say like, oh, look how nice this sounds. Oh, it's so fun to come to the game because all this stuff. We do this, and we are allowed to tell the team, you're not good enough. We're allowed to say we're not happy. And yes, there's some ways to do it. There's some ways that should not do it, and there's some involve laws and rules of the game and the MLS and all that. So obviously, staying between the laws, it's fine. But you're allowed to boo. Boo is part of the game. Boo is part of soccer. Boo is part of sports. And then the counterpart of that now is the team's doing very bad, and I've seen various people saying, why the supporters are not saying anything? Why the supporters are not putting a statement out? Why the supporters? And we say or not say? Because if we say, we get drilled with, you guys think you're so important, but if we don't say anything, now they're all, hey, where are you guys? We need something that needs to make them wake up, right? So that's the part of it. And in between our supporters, and I mentioned it in the chat a little bit, my main idea after all these disasters would be sending a very loud message, and it would be, show up to the game 10 minutes later.
That'd be a heck of a statement.
That's a statement. And you're not being offensive. You're not yelling at anybody. You're not breaking any rules of conduct or a harassment or anything that they have been thrown off so many times around this past 2 weeks.
So
don't do the march, because the march is a festivity that the team, the club thinks they own, but it's our march, it's our fans' march. We do it, but they think it's theirs. So don't do it. First of all, don't do the march. Don't do any of that. And then 10 minutes in, we can go in the in the concourse, like check all the flags, checking all the flags and the drums and all that. Go in. Let's stay on the concourse 10 minutes. Starts the game. 10 minutes in, we walk in very quietly. Then maybe 5 minutes later, we start playing.
So I'm gonna play devil's advocate for a second and go. No, I just want to go back a year or so. Last year, when we boycotted the League's Cup, or a lot of the supporter groups did, a lot of the fans did. When it got quiet, what did the team do? They brought in that other band. I forget what the name of the band was that was walking around the entire time. And would the team do that if they know there is an organized? Because I'm not gonna. I mean, for as much as the supporter groups do, it seems like Caleb and at least is very connected to that. So if they get wind that there's some kind of organized, let's call it a silent protest by removing the noise from the north end for 10 minutes, would they try to do something to curtail that and just bring in that other band to at least be there to start the game? Is there like? I don't think that would be a good look, but is that something they would do, you think?
Sure, do it. Okay.
I don't know if that would. I think with the whole U.S. Open Cup, the boycotting of that, I think that was almost like a different time, right? Them having, I guess, that band, like you say, going to the South End. I don't know if that would cause more trouble than it to be.
Mm-hmm.
And from what I understand, it's probably from the I saw lightning behind you, Oscar.
Yeah, my power flick too.
So I'm wondering, is that something that all the supporter groups will be doing? That's my question, because there's so many different ways of thinking from supporter section groups, right? I don't think that, and hopefully I'm wrong, but I don't think all of the groups will be joining that.
Oh no. I mean, this is me, my idea. Like, not even talking like I'm part of any type of supporter group. This is me thinking,
what
me
you
as
would
a fan,
but
I would do this.
Yeah.
But
the Discord that
you have to send a message, and the issue with all this, like, we do not have a group. We do have different supporter groups. Yes. We do not have a group. So it's hard to have all those 7 bring up a message together. It's hard to put everybody in the same page, because some of them, and everybody has obviously the right to think the way they want, but it's more of, are we looking to have the same outcome as groups? And if you see some of them, they don't care really about the results in the field. They care about all the things, like they care about that it's not wrong. Let me clarify this. All those things are great, but some of them, they just care about their fundraisers, or like the thing that they're going for outside soccer. And then that's great. But at the same time, it's like, we have to be some sort of a group where we can actually push a message to the team. Everywhere in the world happens. The ultras, barras bravas, whatever you want to call it. But when they're a group and things are not going well, they're the ones who deliver that message and say, hey, we're doing all this. And all these people deserve better. But how you do it, you have to do it in unity, not just one piece um, at the time.
Yeah, I know from the ones that I'm part of overseas is usually, you have those selected leaders, we'll call them, from each of those supporter groups that will meet and have a shared statement. But clearly we saw with the US the uh, Leagues Cup, you know, when one group decided to, show the team a little supports, and then it started a whole nother discussion afterward. That's where,
Mhm.
I have that question mark that with so many ways of thinking from every supporter group, um, I'll be interested to see if there was anything that will portray, like, we know our friends at SKC, they have the culture in which they're pretty much, that's the group that command, like, their speak for everybody
Mhm.
on here. We know we have 7+, so I guess I don't see that
Yeah.
part just yet. But I think for that part, it's starting to see like the team is getting a sense of, the displeasure with from the fans, because you could hear, was it Horn that was saying, apologizing and all of these things. I think now it's nice on, during the pressers, but now you want to see it on the field as at the same time. An argument here and there, a nice hard tackle. That's when people start cheering. That's how you get spirits up, right? The play on the field, hard playing. That's how you get some of the not so happy fans back. You may lose the game, but if they see those hard tackle, those hard runs, those crosses, when they score a goal, there's that celebration towards the fans, or the one that they keep showing, Brecher, right? When he almost had the opportunity and he raised his hands and, like, say, let's freaking go, but the more explicit one. Um, those are the type of interactions that you want. Um, and I guess from the comments I'm hearing, players kind of going far from the north side and go towards the middle. I think some of that mentality has to be brought up, because people from before that were on the team were going to those
Yeah.
fans, win
I
or
mean,
lose.
like Mo, let me put it this way. So when we lost against Kansas City, Kansas City was in the bottom, 13 plus games without winning, right?
Right.
What was Javelich's celebration?
Oh, he celebrated like he freaking won the World Cup.
He jumped into the supporter sections.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like he won the
How
World
many
Cup.
times our city players have even remotely got close to celebrate with the supporter section?
I think that was what, Celio a year or
No.
2 years
With a
ago.
goal? With a goal?
No, not with a goal.
No. With a goal, they'll go to the corners, they'll go away. Like, and if I sound petty, I sound petty. I don't care. But it's like, really?
Hold on, I think I may
Are you
hear.
getting hit by hail?
Think getting sirens.
Yeah, there are sirens going off in South County, in Afton right
Yeah.
now per alley.
Yeah, because when you hear about it, was it, so it's 5 kids, so 10 feet going upstairs.
Yeah.
The sirens on.
Yeah, I mean, we are, so be safe out there again. I mean, I'm looking at radar right now, just seeing where stuff is going, and we've got some nasty storms definitely rolling through the area right now.
So
So be
hopefully
safe
any
out
of you
there.
listening are not outside.
Yeah, don't. I mean, that's a typical Midwest thing, right? Go outside and watch the storms.
The porch.
Right.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
But let's see.
But yeah.
And Ryan,
I mean,
thanks for switching to your
last
phone.
thing I will say, Jeremy, last thing I will say.
Yeah.
So if this was happening in any South American team, you would have had already a protest show on their practice.
Yeah.
and literally on the field of their practice, talking to them and voicing our discomfort, our discontent, but obviously here you can't do that. Because even when the time we went to cheer him up a little bit, they didn't let us in to the facility. They kept us outside the gate.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I saw that. You guys
it's
parked
very
on the
different.
street.
It's obviously cultural. It's very different, but you just
Yeah, so I would say I think it's the cultural thing. Maybe it's still learning lessons when we're still on year 3, but I think it's getting more to that point. I think if they keep losing more and more, I think that's where St. Louis fans will start showing some real statements. And sometime if it's not supporter group, it will be ticket sales because people will start going to other places. Um, Maybe us diehard soccer fans will be there no matter what, because first it's just because it's soccer to begin with, but then it's because there's the team there. Uh, but at this point, it's just those points where now they have to show that either they're professional that hate to lose,
Mm-hmm.
either it's professional that they are professional that they hate to lose. They may have not made it to that level as much as hard as they have, but 10 games without winning, I probably will not be sleeping much.
yeah.
And I'm talking academy, high school, college. It one game or two losing streak, I would not sleep and I was not in the best mood ever. So 10 games and you're professional, I I don't know. And there's players, right? Professional players. After they lose one
Yeah.
game, they go home. No one can talk to them. They disconnect completely. Wife, kids, friends, mom, dad,
Mm-hmm.
they go completely silent until something happened. I'm waiting
Well,
to see that hit.
So they keep saying the locker room is together. I did think there was one thing that was interesting that Durkin said today. I think he mentioned that like more players are starting to talk up in the locker room, like after the last game, and I find that to be interesting because it almost, I don't know if worrying is the right word. It's good that they're all talking, but does that mean there's fractures? It starts to make me wonder if there's cracks, or do you think it's good that it's constructive, that it's good that they feel they can talk?
No, I think that's part of those times where when things are not going well, that you don't want to just sit there and listen to someone, right?
Yeah.
You watch some of those World Cup, when they show in the locker room, right? When they show, that's when players start stepping up. Yes,
Yeah.
we all know that you will have your leaders that will, that will talk, but usually it's that one or two players that usually does not say a word that will get up and say, "Hey guys, we're effing up. Hey guys, this is embarrassing. This is this and that." Usually it's that one person that will trigger a sequence,
Yep.
right? We all know Josh is one of the leaders. We know Berkey's one of the leaders. You need somebody to look at you like, dude, I was waiting for that pass. You did not pass it to me. Next time, you better do it.
Yep.
Right? This is what you want to see. And hopefully, those are the type of discussions where now we will have 13, 14 leaders talking to each other versus one or two talking. Berkey is doing his talking. And I saw what you guys were talking because we're on the 141 section. So as when I think there was that one deflect where Sailor did not come back in defense versus KC, right? As they were walking back to the tunnel, you could see him. They were talking as they were walking to the tunnel, and they literally stopped right before they went to the locker room, and they were pointing at each other where on the field they wanted, right? There was no screaming. There was no mad. It's just that him as the goalkeeper, he expected his teammate to be there, but Celio had a different idea. So Celio told him what. That's pretty much what I understood from that conversation. He said, "This is what I thought I was going to do, but this is what I wanted you to do." And then you can use it, right? So those are the type of conversation you want, versus when the ref says halftime, everybody's walking with their head down going into the locker room. I hate that part. I read to see all 11 players talk to each other as they're walking in the locker room saying, "Hey, this is what I wanted," versus just
Yeah.
going to the
I
locker
mean,
room.
it sounds silly, but when there's rough times on teams, normally they find unity on this type of conversations, like the people, like they start saying, like there's more people talking in the locker room. But now, like, even not for the show but for them, I used to see teams that gather like halftime, instead of going in one by one, they gather in the middle and they have their chat like really fast before going in the locker room, because everybody knows that what players say together is more meaningful. They're the one that they're running, there's the one that they're seeing the problems inside, and not the coach that is gonna give you a pet talk that whatever it is, you can believe on what he says or not believe it. But that unity, or coming together in the middle of the field, or even just like outside of the field and then walking in together, that's a little bit of like show of cohesive, like being cohesive, being committed to work together as a team, believe in each other. And I think I would love to see City doing that, because I think that's something that is missing, that they go together and say, hey, we are here battling together as friends, as a family, as a team. Like, let's fix this. And then go in the locker room and hear or not hear whatever coach wants to say, and they come back out and give everything for each other.
Yep.
But none of them are doing any of that. So
Yeah, Christopher's trying to cause trouble, but well, we'll keep away from that.
We're staying away from ambush for now.
Yeah, he's trying to get us in trouble on that part. But
hey, before we move on, and
yes.
I mean, obviously the next thing will come. Reminder, everybody that is in the chat, we will be doing a watch along transmission for Wednesday, the Open Cup. So if you guys want to hear us rant and yell to the TV, just come and join us. And yeah, like, comment if you want to show your face and be on the cast. Also, more than welcome. Let us know. We'll send you the link and we can have you in. More the merrier, and it's just gonna be a fun time with us, with friends, and hopefully we can.
Yep. Also, tomorrow,
my goal is to get Daniel. My goal is to get Daniel on the stream. I'm going to keep doing it until he shows up.
We'll get Daniel. Maybe we'll pull Aaron on too. No, I was also going to just real quick plug tomorrow. So tomorrow, Charlie, as long as he's got power, Charlie and I are going to sit down with Chris Gebhardt, STL Soccer News, and just do a real quick talk about the Open Cup. The Open Cup game, again, that's the competition we're in on Wednesday against Minnesota, 110th running of the tournament. We are in the round of 16 and thought it would be nice to get Chris on. He's got a lot of passion for the tournament. So we'll talk all things Open Cup. I don't know how much into the matchup we'll get, but I thought it would be a nice addition to the channel. So Charlie and I are going to talk with Chris tomorrow. And then, as Oscar said, come back on Wednesday. More Top Corner madness as we're doing a watch along for the Open Cup game itself. So we are here. It's busy, but we're having a blast doing it, aren't we, guys?
Just like City, we're playing back to back to back to back to back.
And no injuries, knock on wood.
Oh, now we're going to pull something. But yes, but with that said, definitely appreciate you all joining us. Another one for us rambling about soccer in City. Even when you I think Oscar looks like more like Thorn because he's having lightning all over the place.
I mean, we're lighting up your night, you know.
Wow, look at.
Hey, Energizer, we're bringing the power, baby.
Or taking it away. I don't know what, depending on if you're losing the power in your house.
Oh boy. But yes, but with that say, like, subscribes, and And I think Aaron was the last subscriber. So thanks for subscribing, Aaron. And so hopefully you get your voice back. Hopefully the team will not force you to boo them, because I know you're probably getting ready for that one as well. But other than that, make sure you show up tomorrow for the preview of the US Open Cup and also the live stream on Wednesday. So there's a lot more coming up, and hopefully Charlie's okay. But with that said, Oscar, Jeremy, anything?
Well, real quick, I do want to just show one thing if this will actually let me do it. Hold on. Let's try this. We'll hit done.
We keep trying new things.
Yeah, well, I had a quote that I wanted to share with you all. Let me see if it will actually let me do it. Window.
So should we probably show like after dark, because we're always to like almost 11:30.
Yeah. So it's being complicated. So what I will try to do real quick on the other side is, bear with me for a moment, Mo. I will send this to you and let you share it if it'll let you.
We're gonna call it Top Corner Talk After Dark.
So this is a quote from Lutz Fannesteel, our sporting director. And I don't even have to get you the graphic. I thought it would be nice to have the graphic. But basically, he was on KMOX. I just am curious to pick your brains on this real quick. So he said on Sunday, quote, "We need to stop thinking about the playoffs right now. It's the wrong approach. We need to be game to game, get solid, get confidence. Once you have the process, you can start dreaming about the playoffs. Right now, we're not good enough to be in the playoffs." Any thoughts about what you're hearing from Lutz Fannesteel? This was the morning after the loss to Minnesota.
Oscar.
Why were we thinking of the playoff?
Well, they said at the beginning of the season, and that's been the goal, right?
I mean, that's your goal. That was goal year one too. Like I believe that's what they had on their locker room. It's like when everybody said like you're gonna be dead last, and they said like no, we're gonna make it to the playoffs. So yes, you can set up goals that they're in long range goals, right? But you as a team, and I never heard any other coach saying, "Oh, we're just thinking on playoff." If you remember, what was the most repeated sentence that Bradley Cornell said in his time here? It was next game first. Game first. Next game first. I'm only thinking about the next game. I'm only working on what comes in front of me.
Yep.
Not October. It's always the next and the next, and then you move to the next. And it was always the same thing with, what happened with injuries? Next man up.
Yep.
Same mentality, same thing, same concept for your team. Yes, the pressure of making the playoff. Yes, it is the pressure of making the playoff because we had a disaster of year last year. But it doesn't mean anything. You as a team, you have to build yourself in a way that you're gonna go and develop through the year to make sure you accomplish your long-term goal. Yep. But you don't accomplish your long-term goals by doing nothing during the year, and then in July or August or September decide, hey, we're behind our progress, so now let's make sure like we make it to playoff. No, like you have to work towards that goal.
Yes, I think so pretty much for me, the way I see it is that you have the owners, you have your sporting general manager, your sporting director. All of these people should always think playoffs because that's how it's their breadwinner. That's how you know you will be able to get the money and all that for the season after. But then that's when you have your coach and you have the players. Their only job, the only thing they should be worrying about is preparing for the team that plays next. For the fans, it should also be making the playoffs, because that's how teams here shows a successful season versus a non-successful season. So I think for me, it just depends on whoever you talk to, that their goal should be different. We want to make to the playoff, and then we want to win a series of the playoffs, because we did not do that the first year. Players, they should only worry about the next game, because they cannot overlook that game, or else they will mess it up for the one before. And if they think, oh, we have to make up to go to the playoffs, that means they will try probably too hard, and then they will make mistakes, and before you know it, the entire season is out the window. So I just see it based on who you ask.
So
Playoff wise, at this point,
Yeah.
I don't know if we're going to make it, but it's still the MLS. Kansas City has showed us that you can be dead in the water. You're not 6 feet under, you're just 5 feet under, and you can still come back up and win a series.
and
So
I think with the team
It's
we
just that.
have and the way that we're performing, we will not make it.
So Daniel, you went right at where I was going, just to wrap this out. So mathematically, to look at where, for the last 5 full MLS seasons, to make the playoffs, the cutoff line is around 45 points. We have to get like 33, 34 points to do it. That's 55% of the points left this year, just to try to get around that ballpark number. That's a huge ask right now for this team. I'm not optimistic that it gets done. Mo, it doesn't sound like you or Oscar are either.
With the things that we're performing, we would not even get 25% of the points.
Yeah.
Nope.
So
if we were playing better but still losing, maybe we would have had a different discussion. But
I think LA Galaxy has more chances to get more points.
Damn,
Watching the game that they
saying
play
something.
against LAFC, they have more chances to get those points than us at this moment. But and that brings me to something that I obviously didn't mention, but I mean it was part of my hot take. It was, why are we waiting? Are we waiting just because it's Open Cup? Because I mean the guy should be done.
Oh, to sack
He's
him?
not gonna. Yeah. Why are we waiting? You're gonna give him one more game and see if magically things start turning around, because I don't think there's a possibility. And then, I mean, I would say we need a coach that knows MLS, and then we need a sporting director that knows MLS. That will be my next two moves. And there was someone saying that is the coach Sabarete, that coach I think Portland, and then I would say the one from Philly, Jim Corton, and then if not, there's 2 Latin coaches that would be very happy to have them if they come. And one would be Matias Almeida, that coached San Jose once. He also coached in Mexico. And then Martin de Michelis, that has coached River Plate and so and so. So just there's coaches available. So sack him, find someone. One other thing that I would say is that I know a lot of people is like, hey, do we bring Hack back? I would say no, don't bring him, because if you bring him, you have to bring him to keep him, and I don't think he's the solution for the long term of this team.
He had the guys playing better,
but because he was just a temporary thing.
I think it depends on what the long-term plan is and how you want them to play, and that's where the difference is if you're going to play different and you're not going to do the gegenpress all out stuff, then Hack doesn't make sense.
Kelly, I don't mind this whole rotating coaches. I'm a Chelsea fan. I'm used to rotating coaches.
Yeah, I mean,
it's part of the job.
Coaches, yes, sometimes you have to give them enough time, but that enough time, you have to have something clear. It's something that you see that there's a clear path that your team is developing. This team doesn't have that. This team started here, let's say not high, but it started here, and I went here. That's not developing.
Yeah. Wow,
All right. No more,
we were
guys.
going to close out the thing, but then we added another 10
Sorry.
minutes.
So
But yes.
no, my fault.
Oh, wow, there's a Crystal City. Yes, so congratulations, Crystal
Hey.
Palace. You guys made it
Hey.
happen.
Up the
I
Eagles.
cheer for them because there's 2 Colombians in there.
Up the Eagles.
Hey, well, you know what? At least Jeremy is happy because they beat the other Manchester, so he doesn't have to see it. That's why he's
right.
happy.
No trophies for Pep.
Yes, but
He's
I
got
guess
enough.
I guess with that said, since Jeremy is happy, hopefully St. Louis will do the same thing for him on Wednesday. For those of you, thank you for joining us again for a Top Corner Talk After Dark / session therapy or therapy session. Because therapy session. Stay safe, and hopefully we'll see you all at City Park. I think on the 31st or something like that.
Yep.
Otherwise, good
See
night.
you tomorrow. See you Wednesday.
Yes, indeed. All right. Take care, everyone.